Hey everyone, it's the untold history here, whispering through the ages to help you drift off. Tonight, we're drifting back to ancient Rome, that sprawling mess of marble and madness they called the Eternal City. Picture yourself settling in under a soft blanket, dimming the lights and letting the worries of today fade away. We'll wander through a typical day in Rome around the time of Emperor Hadrian, say 137 AD, when the empire was at its bloated peak. No grand battles or earth-shaking conquests tonight, just the quiet hum of daily life for the average Roman, from the grubby plebeian to the pampered patrician. Because naturally, even in the greatest city on earth, most days were about scraping by, avoiding the filth, and wondering why everything smelled like yesterday's garum sauce. Close your eyes, breathe easy, and let's ease into the dawn. As the first hints of light creep over the 7 hills, Rome stirs like a hungover giant. The city never truly sleeps, but around sunrise, let's call it the first hour, or prima hora, the real bustle begins. For most folks, the day starts in a cramped insula, those rickety apartment blocks stacked like wobbly Jenga towers. Imagine waking in a tiny room, no windows if you're poor, the air thick with the scent of last night's oil lamps and your neighbor's questionable cooking. A typical plebeian, say a baker named Lucius, rolls off his straw mattress at cockcrow. He's got no fancy sundial, and he just listens for the roosters or the creak of carts rumbling in from the countryside.
Eat up now.
Breakfast is simple, because of course it is maybe a hunk of bread dipped in wine or pulse, that porridge of barley that sticks to your ribs like regret. Lucius scarfs it down while his wife tends to the kids, who are already whining about school. Schools in Rome. Oh, they're charming affairs, held in open shops or forums, where a grumpy pedagogue drills grammar into bored boys with a switch handy for motivation. Meanwhile, up on the Palatine Hill, the elites are stirring too. Take a senator like Gaius, lounging in his domus with frescoed walls and a private atrium. He doesn't leap out of bed. No, he waits for his slaves to bring warm water for washing. Romans weren't big on soap, they preferred strigils, those curved scrapers to peel off the grime. Gaius sips his mulsum, honeyed wine, while dictating letters to a scribe. His day? It's all about the salutatio, that morning ritual where clients flock to his door like pigeons to crumbs. They line up at dawn, hoping for favors, jobs, or a handout. Gaius greets them with feigned warmth because, naturally, power in Rome is a game of endless obligations. "Salve, old friend," he mutters, while thinking about how this one's breath could wilt a laurel wreath. Down in the streets, the city pulses with early energy, and farmers trundle in with wagons of produce, dodging the night soil dumped from window seas. Rome's sanitation was advanced for aqueducts, but chamber pots were emptied wherever gravity allowed. A street vendor hawks hot sausages, their sizzle cutting through the fog of wood smoke. For women like Claudia, a washerwoman, the day means hauling laundry to the Fulonica, where urine collected from public potsis used to bleach clothes. Charming, isn't it? She trudges along, basket on head, and ignoring the leers from idlers. Kids scamper to ludus, reciting their alphabet, while slaves hurry to fetch water from fountains because running water at home. That's for the rich, who pipe it in via lead conduits lead, of course, which we now know wasn't doing their health any favors. As the sun climbs, the forums come alive. The Forum Romanum, heart of the city, buzzes with merchants, lawyers arguing cases under basilicas, and priests tending temples. and a young lovers pair sneaks glances amid the crowds. She's from a modest family. He's a clerk, dreaming of advancement. Romance in Rome. Often arranged, but these two whisper about eloping, because why not add drama to the drudgery? Over at the bakeries, ovens roar, pumping out loaves stamped with the maker's mark to prevent fraud. Lucius kneads dough in the heat, sweat mixing with flour, grumbling about the emperor's grain dole that keeps prices low but his profits lower. And let's not forget the Vestal Virgins, those priestesses sworn to chastity, tending Vesta's eternal flame in their temple. One of them, say Flavia, rises early to pray. Her life a mix of privilege and peril break that vow, and burial alive awaits. Ironic, isn't it? Guardians of the hearth, yet forbidden their own. The city awakens fully now, a symphony of shouts, animal brays, and the distant roar from the Tiber docks. Rome, eternal and exhausting, where every day blends survival with spectacle. The morning deepens and Rome's rhythm picks up, steady as a heartbeat. By the second or third hour, workers are in full swing. For our baker Lucius, it's all about the milled donkeys turning stones to grind wheat into flour, the air dusty and choking. Slaves do the heavy lifting, chained to the task, because Rome runs on bondage like olive oil on hinges. Lucius oversees, barking orders, while dreaming of a dip in the bath later. Bakers were essential, bread was life, subsidized by the state to keep the mob content. Panem et circenses, they called it, bread and circuses, because nothing says stability like free carbs and blood sports. Up the social ladder, Senator Gaius heads to the Curia for debates. He dons his toga, that cumbersome wool drape, starched and heavy, symbol of citizenship, but a nightmare in the heat. Clients trail him like a personal entourage, hoping for scraps of influence. In the Senate, it's all talk, endless speeches on aqueduct repairs or frontier taxes. Gaius drones on about virtue, while privately fretting over his villa's leaky roof. Emperors like Hadrian meddle from afar, traveling the empire, leaving senators to squabble like children over toys. Hadrian himself. Oh, he was a builder, obsessed with walls and pantheons. But his personal life was a tangle mourning his lover, Antinous, with godlike statues everywhere. Typical royal melodrama, turning grief into architecture. As in the markets, the Macellum hums. Claudia, the washerwoman, pauses to buy olives or figs, haggling with a Syrian trader whose spices scent the air. Women in Rome had more freedom than in Greece, but still, their days revolved around home and hearth. If wealthy, like Gaius's wife, it's managing slaves, spinning wool symbolically because actual work. Beneath her, she visits friends, gossiping about scandals, that senator's affair or the empress's latest hairstyle. Inbreeding among elites, rampant. So the Julians and Claudians intermarried like it was a hobby, producing heirs with weak chins and weaker minds. Caligula, earlier emperor, nicknamed for his little boots, grew up twisted, declaring his horse a consul. Because why not? Schoolboys recite Homer under the lash, their wax tablets scratched with lessons. Education was rote, brutal, but vital for climbing. A bright lad might become a rhetorician, arguing cases in basilicas where justice was as bendable as lead pipes. Mid-morning brings the first hunger pangs. Plebeians grab a quick pulse from a thermopolium, those ancient fast food joints with counters of embedded jars holding stews or wine. No forks, fingers, and bread scoops suffice. For the poor, it's barley. Wheat for the better off. Meat? Rare, unless you're sacrificing at a temple and sharing the spoils. Slaves, the invisible backbone, toil everywhere. A household one fetches water, dodging carts in narrow vias. Traffic in Rome? Chaos, no sidewalks, or just dodging mules and litters carrying the rich. Julius Caesar once banned wagons daytime to ease congestion, but enforcement was spotty. By now, the sun beats down. Temples gleam Jupiters on the Capitoline, where priests read omens from bird guts. Superstition ruled. An ill-timed sneeze could derail a deal. Our young lovers meet furtively in a shaded portico. He's apprenticed to a scribe, copying laws on papyrus. She's helping her mother weave. Love in Rome often meant dowries and alliances. But these two dream naively. Petty meltdowns abound. A merchant screams over a short-changed sestertius. A child wails lost in the crowd. Rome's noise is relentless. Hammers, shouts, the occasional braying oracle promising fortunes for a coin. As noon approaches, the pace slows slightly. Work ends for many around midday, the 6th hour varying with seasons. Summers stretch long, winters short, but always the sun dictates. Lucius wipes his brow, his shop fragrant with fresh loaves, and the city exhales, ready for the afternoon lull. Noon settles over Rome like a warm blanket, the 6th hour marking the workday's end for most. The sun hangs high, casting short shadows on the forums. Plebeians like Lucius shutter shops early, because why toil all day when the empire subsidizes idleness? He grabs a light prandium lunch of leftovers, cheese, perhaps a figurine standing or on the go. No big meals yet, that's for Cena later. The afternoon, reserved for leisure, and that Roman art of doing nothing productively. The baths beckon, those thermae sprawling like palaces for the masses. Emperor-sponsored, free or cheap, they're the great equalizers nators soak beside slaves, though in separate sections, naturally. Lucius heads to the baths of Trajan, vast complexes with libraries, gyms, and gardens. He strips in the apoditerium, leaving clothes with an attendant thieves lurk. So valuables stay home.
Thank you.
First, the frigidarium's cold plunge, shocking the system. Then tepidarium, warm and mild, before the caldarium's steam heat, fired by underground hippocausts. Slaves stoke furnaces, sweating in the dark while bathers lounge above. Gaius arrives in style, litter borne, slaves fanning him. He exercises lightly in the palestra, wrestling or ball games before bathing. Conversations flow. Politics, philosophy, the latest chariot races. Did you hear about Hadrian's wall in Britannia? One asks. Pointless vanity. Gaius mutters sarcastically, because emperors building barriers against barbarians is just so original. The bath's social side? Priceless. Deals are struck, alliances formed amid the steam. Women have their times or sections, gossiping while attendants oil and scrape skin. For Claudia, baths mean respite from laundry's stink. She soaks, chatting about husband's foible. She drinks too much posca, none that vinegary soldier's wine. Kids play in shallower pools, while elders philosophize. Hygiene. Romans scrubbed obsessively, but public baths spread lice and worse. Ironic, that pursuit of cleanliness breeding filth. Elites like Gaius's wife visit private baths at home, avoiding the rabble. Afternoon might include the forum, center of everything. Shoppers browse silks from the east, spices from India. Lawyers plead under arches, a trial unfolds, crowds jeering the accused. In temples host sacrifices a bull's throat slit, blood for the gods, meat for the priests. Omens read from entrails because science was still marinating. Our young lovers steal moments here, hands brushing amid statues. He gifts her a cheap fibula pin. She blushes, dreaming of a modest insular life. Gladiators train nearby in ludus schools. One, a Thracian captive, spars with wooden swords, body oiled and scarred. His day? Grueling drills from dawn, meager meals, to dreaming of freedom or death in the arena. Spectacles aren't daily, but practice is endless. Prostitutes work porticos, discreet in the light. A water clock maker tinkers in his shop. Clepsydre dripping time for those who care. As the sun dips, the city shifts. Vendors pack up, birds wheel over the Tiber. Petty royals, descendants of old families, parade in litters, ignoring plebs. Inbreeding's toll shows weak eyes, odd habits. One noble melts down over a delayed delivery, screaming like a child. Rome's contrasts amuse palaces beside slums, gods beside gutters. Leisure lingers, some nap, others read scrolls in atria. The day floats on, unhurried. The afternoon stretches lazily, Rome's gift to the weary. By the 7th or 8th hour, baths done, folks wander. Lucius joins friends at a papina, a dingy tavern for dice and diluted wine. Games of chance, ubiquitous, though gambling was frowned upon except when it wasn't. He loses a few asses' coins, chuckles it off. Fortuna's fickle, he sighs, because blaming gods beats admitting bad luck. Senator Gaius attends a lecture or visits the library in Trajan's Forum, scrolls of Virgil unrolled. Culture matters, appearing learned keeps status. He debates stoicism with pierce into a life's absurdities, they say. Ironic, coming from men with heated floors. His mind wanders to family, a daughter betrothed to a cousin, keeping bloodlines pure. Royal marriages, disasters waiting. Think Nero. Product of tangled trees, a fiddling while Rome burned literally, they say, though probably not. In the streets, entertainment brews. Street performers juggle or recite poetry for coppers. Chariot fans argue factions, blues versus greens like modern sports rivals, but with riots. The Circus Maximus looms empty today, but memories of crashes linger. A farmer from Dawn's market heads home, pockets lighter, dodging pickpockets. Claudia mends clothes at home, an insular room shared with kin. Extended families crammed together, privacy a joke. Her husband, a mason, returns from building aqueducts' endless repairs, water gushing to fountains. He complains of lead poisoning symptoms, unknowing. Dinner prep starts, beans, lentils, occasional pork if lucky. Garum ferments everything. That fishy sauce Romans adored, like ketchup's pungent cousin. Our Vestal Flavia performs rituals, pouring libations. Her life? Isolated luxury, but one slip-up means doom. Emperors meddle. Domitian executed some for impurity. Dark undercurrents in sacred duties. Young lovers part ways, he to evening chores, she to help with Sina.
I wish you could stay.
Romance flickers quietly.
I cannot.
As light fades, the forum empties.
Till tomorrow, then.
Merchants close stalls, priests lock temples. A night watchman prepares, lantern ready for patrols. Crime, rampant burglars, muggers in alleys. Elites retreat to Domus, slaves lighting lamps. Hadrian's era brings peace, but quirks abound. The emperor, bearded Greek lover, Nance builds villas with canals, mimicking Egypt. Personal oddities. He drowned Antinous, deified him grief or guilt. Royals' lives, fragile as glass. The city quiets marginally. Birds settle, Tiber laps. Afternoon blends to evening, seamless. As dusk falls, around the 9th hour, Cena begins the day's main meal, social centerpiece. For plebeians like Lucius, it's family around a low table, bread, olives, eggs, wine watered down. They recline on couches if space allows, eating with hands and wiping on bread. Conversation drifts to gossip the neighbor's affair or grain prices. Kids listen wide-eyed to tales of Hannibal, exaggerated for effect. Wealthy like Gaius host banquets, slaves serving courses. Gustatio starters of eggs and mushrooms, prima mensa roasts, secunda mensa fruits. Guests recline, togas off, belching politely. Talk turns sardonic. Hadrian's in Athens again, playing philosopher while we pay taxes. Laughter muted. Spies lurk. Wives join, unusual for ancients, was adding wit. Inbreeding tales whispered Claudian's limps, Julian's madness. Caligula made his sister divine, married her. Rumors swirl. Claudia serves her kin, weary but content. Prostitutes work evenings in lupanars with painted walls. A gladiator unwinds in barracks, meal of barley gruel, dreaming arena glory. Night deepens, lamps flicker with olive oil. Streets empty, save watchmen calling hours. Insulae quiet, though fires threaten wooden beams. No escapes. Elites in Atria stargaze. Astrologers consulted for omens. Our lovers dream apart, hopes fragile. Rome slumbers fitfully, Tiber murmuring. The eternal city rests, ready for another dawn. And there we are, back to quiet. Sleep well, friends, tomorrow's another era.